Look, I just got finished watching Smash JT's video about how screwed we are with the video game industry, heading towards a potential crash, or maybe it's not a crash. And I just watched Review Tech USA's video on the same topic, on how many gaming layoffs there are in the industry and, the crash that's coming. Just yesterday, Jay Hooft made a video about the same topic. And, I've made videos over the last couple of weeks talking about the layoffs and the direction that the gaming industry is going in. But man, I'm a little bit spun up here because everybody is so focused on how sad it is that these people are getting laid off. And you know what? I don't want to see anyone lose their job. I get it. But that's not really the issue here that people seem to be overlooking. This industry has jumped the shark over and over and over again. They have attempted to create a business model that just can't exist on a large scale. The idea of creating these huge AAA games that take 7 years to complete and they cost $300 million or more. The idea of Grand Theft Auto 6 costing $1 billion or maybe even $2 billion to create. Great. We know Grand Theft Auto 5 sold 150 million copies or some crazy number, right? And so there's that expectation that they're going to do that again, and maybe they will, maybe they won't, maybe that's a good investment. I certainly wouldn't bet against Rockstar, but all of these other companies in the industry that are focusing on particularly these live service games, trying to capture that lightning in a bottle that is Fortnite and recreate that. People don't want this, guys. We don't want this. People play Fortnite because at the time it was kind of unique. It was interesting. It was a new concept. When they switched over to the actual Battle Royale style, it kind of caught the world by storm. And now they're continuing to invest in that game and build upon it with things like the Lego expansion and, all of this kind of stuff to actually create value. It's not just a bunch of stupid microtransactions. And to this day, you can still go and play that game for free and have a great time. This idea that we have to create these money-making juggernauts that may or may not be fun, and that's the problem with Suicide Squad and so many of these other canceled projects, because these mega studios are realizing now that there's far too much risk, and they have put all their eggs in these couple of baskets with these huge cinematic AAA games. And I see these layoffs and I think, okay, EA just laid off 5% of its workforce. Do you know how many people that was? It was like 600 people or something. Are you telling me that they have 20 times 600 people working at EA right now, and they put out, 2 or 3 games a year, maybe, a couple sports games and whatever? So are you telling me that there's literally 12,000 people working at EA? And nobody stops to think, gee, maybe this is a little excessive. I know there's a big difference between an indie game and a AAA game. But if a fun game can be built in a couple of years by one dude, looking at you, Stardew Valley, okay, maybe the graphics aren't great, but it sold 30 million copies. Or you look at something like Pal World, a game that's only 60% complete, and it was worked on by a small studio. I don't know how many people, but 20, 50, 100 people maybe working on Pal World. I don't know. Why the hell do we need 20,000 or 15,000 people working at one studio? No wonder we're having layoffs, because these companies jumped the shark, especially in the pandemic era. We saw huge boost to sales numbers as everybody's sitting at home with nothing to do. They're buying digital games. We look at something like the Unity platform laying off a bunch of people. Why the hell do we need 8,000 people working at Unity? What is Unity? It's a game development software. It's a piece of software to develop low-budget, mostly games. Indie games, low-budget games, things like that. Why the hell does it need 8,000 people working for it? What is going on here? piece of software like that, there is no reason. Okay, I'm not a developer, disclaimer, I'm not a software engineer, but I can't imagine in my brain why Unity needs any more than like 75 people to maintain a platform that's already built. And as far as the assets and things like that they add in, there's no reason why those things couldn't be done by subcontractors, people at home in their basements that are, submitting assets to a storefront or something. Why the hell do they have 8,000 people working for them? No wonder they laid off 5% of their staff, and I'm surprised they didn't lay off 30 or 40% of their staff, because this is absolutely unsustainable. Like, it just makes no sense to me. Sony laid off 900 people. Okay, well, some of those layoffs came from Insomniac, which doesn't make a lot of sense because that's their most, successful studio. But you got to think, how many of these positions are redundant? And, again, I gotta say, I'm sorry for these people that have lost their jobs, but they never should have had those jobs in the first place. This is a necessary correction in the industry because these executives thought that they were going to make the greedy billions and billions of dollars, and they hired everyone that they could get their hands on, and they acquired every studio that they could buy, and then they realized, hey, we don't actually have the sales numbers to support all this. So sure, blame the executives. They're the assholes that put everybody's jobs on the line. But if we're ever going to get back to a place where games are actually sustainable, where somebody can actually spend $20 million on a AA game or $10 million on a AA game and release it and actually have success with it, this is the trials and tribulations that we're going to have to go through. And I'm getting really tired of the narrative of doom and gloom, the industry is falling apart. No, this is the necessary correction that we need to bring the industry back to a place of any kind of sensibility, because this is absolutely retarded. I shouldn't say that word, it's a bad word. Ridiculous. Anyway, when, we're expecting a $300 million game, and it doesn't sell. It sells 10 million copies, and we're not happy with that. It didn't achieve the success we wanted. What kind of world are we living in where 10 million sales on a game is really not enough? Like, just a couple generations ago on the GameCube, if you look at the sales of games on the GameCube, sure, it was a failed console, I guess, but it wasn't common to see very popular games sell less than 1 million, like 600,000-700,000 copies, and those were considered successful enough to get sequels. I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Am I the asshole? I don't know. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay classy.